All right, so we are here to preview the Chiefs game for Week 16 when they take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, obviously, the biggest thing that's going on with the Chiefs right now is all their COVID issues. Now, I'm recording this early on Thursday morning, and the news that I saw on Twitter, at least, was that there was no new COVID cases for the Chiefs as of right now. So the guys that were originally on it earlier this week and last week seem to be the only guys on it right now. You know, obviously, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Fenton, Blake Bell, Nick Bolton, Tarvarius Ward, Chris Jones, as of right now, I believe is still on that list. But those are the only ones. So there was no new positives today. So those, and Harrison Buckner, but those are the only guys that are on it for now, which is hopefully good news that hopefully this Chiefs outbreak, it's pretty well hopefully contained. There is no more cases for the Chiefs. That would be awesome because this game it's a game that we obviously want to win, but the win last week, 2 games up in the division, number 1 seed in the AFC. I think if any game that the Chiefs could afford to lose, now they don't want to lose, obviously. I think this is the game they could afford to lose the most, just because they have the cushion in the division, all these guys out. It'll get them healthy, because the best case scenario is that all these players getting it now and instead of in the playoffs, obviously. So getting it now, getting it over with for the Chiefs, I think is a great thing. I mean, having it in general is not great. You never wish it upon anybody to get it, but as a whole for the outbreak, you're glad that the Chiefs are getting it now and not in the playoffs. So hopefully they can just go pedal to the metal straight into the playoffs and hopefully, go to the Super Bowl and win the thing, because that's obviously the goal. But obviously the Chiefs don't want to lose a game, but just they have a two-game lead in the division after beating the Chargers last week. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. So if anything, I think the Chiefs are in a better position than most when they had to deal with their outbreaks. So let's just get into this game. The Chiefs beat the Chargers last week 24-28 in overtime. The Steelers beat the Titans 19-13, and they looked absolutely terrible doing it. The Chiefs are coming in at 10-4 atop the AFC and lead their division. The Steelers are 7-6-1. I have no idea how the Steelers are even above 500 right now. This team is garbage. They've gotten blown out by teams. They tied to the Lions. They arguably could have lost that game last week to the Titans. I have no idea how the Steelers are above 500. Nothing that the Steelers do impresses me. There's literally nothing good about them, but somehow they're still 7-6-1. You have the Melvin Ingram revenge game. The Steelers trading him to KC, which seemed to be a really stupid decision on the Steelers front office and everything they did. I don't know why they did that, because ever since he's gotten to KC, he has completely balled out for the Chiefs, stepped up, made plays, a great addition to this defense. Him coming to KC definitely was a turning point for this defense, and for some reason the Steelers said something like they had no use for him, which makes no sense to me whatsoever, because you have a guy like that who is still wreaking havoc. He may not be as good as he once was, but the fact that him coming has seemed to help out other guys like Chris Jones, Frank Clark. So I don't know what the Steelers are talking about. They didn't have any use for him, because if the Steelers are just a bad team. But the Steelers winning last week helped the Chiefs become the number 1 seed. So that was the only time that we were rooting for the Steelers all season long. And so, yeah, we have to thank the Steelers for that. But if we look at the Steelers as a whole, their defense, they forced 4 turnovers, which is great. I think the 4 turnovers is definitely what helped the Steelers win that game. Now, their offense is absolute garbage. It's a heaping pile of trash. They were only able to capitalize basically on field goals on all of those. So the Steelers weren't able to capitalize on anything that their defense was doing well. And their defense as a whole wasn't very good last week. They gave up 242 yards rushing against the Vikings, and then they gave up 201 yards total or rushing against the Titans. They're not a good rushing defense. They're the second worst in the NFL. They're giving up almost 150 yards a game, 144. Is what they're giving up. So their run defense is absolutely atrocious. It's terrible. When you have TJ Watt, who's a monster, 17.5 sacks, which the Chiefs are definitely going to have to contain him on the edge, and he's probably going to be lined up on the Chiefs' offensive line side, which has struggled the most, which I believe is the right side of the offensive line, the right side tackle, who has struggled the most this season for the Chiefs. But, even with TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, the Steelers' run defense is absolutely terrible. It's a joke. It is not good whatsoever. And again, the Steelers being 7-6-1, it makes no sense because then you look at the offense. They can't run the ball. They're the second worst running offense in the NFL. They're middle of the pack throwing the football, which makes no sense to me whatsoever because their receivers kind of it's not even on the receivers. Big Ben can't move. He's slow. Everything he does looks slow. Like, they try running the RPO with him, which makes absolutely no sense because Ben does not have the speed. He may be able to read a defense fast enough, but the speed in which he's able to do stuff, I don't know why you would run the RPO with Big Ben. It makes no sense. It does not work. Najee Harris, in my opinion, I know he's a rookie, but I think he's one of the worst running backs in the NFL by far. Like, he has multiple opportunities to hit the holes, make a decent play, but last week he was running backwards when he could have just taken the 3 to 4 yard gain instead of trying to do too much. Like, and it just feels like they run the same 3 or 4 plays. You have the Harris run, sideline fade, or a quick slant. Like, I don't understand this steal. I don't know how they're 7-6-1. I do not. Now, last week, obviously the turnovers were a big part of that. But even in the Vikings game, they weren't good for 3.5 quarters or 3 quarters. The Vikings just stink, so that's why that one looks close. I think they got blown out by the Bengals this year. Week 1, they beat the Bills, but I mean, it was week 1, so I don't know how much you can really hold your hat on that because now the Bills are struggling. So both of those teams have major flaws. It's just I don't understand the Steelers team. The Steelers, I know the Steelers are just Tomlin's a great head coach, and I think that's showing. I don't like Matt Canada. I think as their offensive coordinator, I think he stinks. I think everything the Steelers do is just absolutely terrible, atrocious, and bad. I mean, Joe Hayden stepped up last week, forcing some great plays. The Titans were literally 1 yard short again. 1 yard short for the Titans must be the biggest pain in the butt that they have to deal with. They lost a Super Bowl because of that. But they were 1 yard. The Titans were literally 1 yard away from possibly making that a game and possibly winning it. So I don't like the Steelers. I don't like anything that the Steelers do. The best thing the Steelers have going is TJ Watt, 17.5 sacks, which is just that's the one guy that the Chiefs as a whole are going to have to contain. So now if you look at the Chiefs, obviously the Chiefs have their COVID issues. Buckner is the only one that's definitely going to be out of this game. So if it comes down to like an extra point or two, that would kind of stink. But I mean, I'm not trying to be arrogant when I say this. The Steelers scoring a whole bunch of points really isn't my worry because they're barely scoring 20 points a game. So that's not really an issue. It's just the Steelers as a team are just really, really bad. I mean, the Chiefs have their own problems of their own. I'm not afraid to admit when the Chiefs have problems. That's not the issue. Creed Humphrey got robbed of a Pro Bowl. I know at the end of the day, the Super Bowl is more important, but Creed got completely robbed of a Pro Bowl spot. And as I mentioned early on, there are no new COVID cases for the Chiefs. So that's the good news as of right now when I'm recording this. Obviously, more news could come out later that the Chiefs do have another outbreak or something. But we're hoping that it was just those few guys and it stays contained to just those guys and we're able to go on as normal. So yeah, if we're going to look at the guys that are having COVID issues, you have Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Fenton, Blake Bell, Nick Bolton, Charvarius Ward. Chris Jones, as of right now, I think is still on that. Now, if Chris Jones comes back, that's going to be a huge help to this defense because that defense missed him so bad last week. Like, I was a fan of the defense last week. I really was. They gave up a lot of yards, but you can't fault them too much. They played it. They stepped up with the guys that they had. They played well. They're getting back Josh Gordon, Willie Gay, and I believe L'Jarius Sneed is coming back from personal issues. So those 3 guys, definitely Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed coming back is going to be great. Defensive wise in this game, I think if they pressure Big Ben, I think the game is over for the Steelers. Just because of how slow the Steelers' offensive line is terrible. It's not good at all. They've talked about improving the offensive line all year long. Like they're hoping for steps of improvement. I don't think they've really stepped up. I don't think they've gotten any better. I think the Steelers' offensive line stinks. Big Ben is just so slow that I feel bad for him at times. Like the Vikings game, I just felt so bad for him because he was not the reason why they lost. But at the same time, Big Ben looks so slow in everything that he does. So I think if they get pressure on Big Ben, I think that really is going to change the outcome of this game. Now, obviously, Najee Harris, I don't think is a very good running back. But if they're able to contain Najee Harris, get pressure on Big Ben, I think this is a long day for the Steelers. I think the Chiefs will be able to have a very good game. Now, this is all riding on hopefully Chris Jones coming back. Now, with him being on it for so long, there is hope that he gets to come back. this everything that I'm saying now is kind of like on a hope that everybody gets to come back, because we don't know really what's going on with the team as a whole. But if Chris Jones comes back, I think it's going to be even more of a rougher day for the Steelers. And I think Willie Gay coming back is definitely going to help the run defense, which the run defense, I will admit, was pretty bad against the Chargers last week. Now, again, it has a lot to do with all the guys that were out. Obviously, Chris Jones being out didn't help. Willie Gay being out didn't help. But I still think they gave up almost 200 yards rushing. But as a whole, I thought the defense played great last week. They gave up 28 points. But like I said, a lot of guys were out. There was one touchdown they gave up that was after the brutal Mahomes interception. Obviously, that's a defensive touchdown. They gave it up. But in my eyes, the defense gave up 21 points. It's a team sport. They got screwed out of the Chargers only had to get 2 yards, so the defense kind of got screwed on the field position of where the Chargers were at. So, they gave up 28 points, but they still balled out on fourth down. They held the Chargers to 2 of 5 on fourth down. And quietly, Sorensen's having a very good little stretch here. Since the Broncos game, he's played very well. He broke up the TD pass that were the play at the end of the first half for the Chargers that would have led to a touchdown. But, Sorensen stepped up, played well. Maybe his plays that were so brutal were very brutal that maybe he wasn't all that bad, but I still think Thornhill obviously needs to be playing more snaps than Sorensen is. Not even close. But I will say the guys that were there last week definitely stepped up. I know 28 points is a lot more than they've given up the last few weeks, but a brutal interception and the fact they were playing Justin Herbert and the Chargers, who played him well last time, you kind of expected it. But the 28 points wasn't enough for the Chargers because the offense it was kind of a slow progression of a game. The offense kind of started off a little bit slow, but once that offense got going for the Chiefs last week, it literally could not be stopped. Kelce went off 191 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill 148 yards, a touchdown. Mahomes 410 yards, 3 touchdowns. Obviously that brutal interception, and did miss Mecole Hardman on a fourth down play that would have been a touchdown. But I think they had 3 straight drives of 75 yards, all went for touchdowns. Like the offense in the fourth quarter and overtime, it just clicked and it could not be stopped. Literally, that offense looked so freaking explosive. There was no stopping that offense whatsoever. So obviously you have Kelce and Bell out. Now Blake Bell doesn't really have much of a role other than blocking in the run game for the Chiefs offense. But Kelce, obviously that massive game last week, just turning into a level that I've never seen Kelce go into last week. I swear that's probably the best game Travis Kelce has ever played for the Chiefs. But so like that was a complete God mode effort by Kelce. I've never seen him play that well. But with Blake Bell, Travis Kelce out, no, this is a great time to see what the rookie Noah Gray has. He has to step up, make some plays. It's a good thing to see because, as time goes on, obviously Travis Kelce, he's going to get older. He probably has 3-4 more years left. And then we have Noah Gray sitting in the background. We can see what he has. This week is a great opportunity for a lot of these guys to step up and see what they have. And it's the same with the receiving core. Hill possibly being out. It's a great time to see what Demarcus Robinson has. Byron Pringle, Mecole Hardman, and Josh Gordon. We signed Josh Gordon because we needed a number 2 wide receiver. This is a great chance to see what all these guys can do with all these guys with, the 2 best receivers and 2 best players on the offense possibly being out. So I think this is a great opportunity to see what these guys can do. And I think Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, going to put them in a great spot to step up and make some plays against a very bad run defense and just defense as a whole for the Steelers. And if we're talking about the Steelers defense real quick, the Chiefs need to run the ball. Like the Steelers are giving up almost 150 yards rushing. If they don't run the ball a lot, somebody's going to get chewed out on that offensive staff. Like there's literally no excuse for the Chiefs not to run the ball a lot, 20 times at least. Run the ball and just continue to run it. Like there's no reason not to. There's not. I don't see any reason unless immediately out of the gate Mahomes has 2 straight 75-yard touchdowns to somebody. I just don't see a reason why the Chiefs do not run the football a whole bunch of times in this game, especially with all these guys out. I think this is going to be a defensive battle for the Chiefs. The defense just has to make a few stops. A couple guys on offense steps up. if they run the ball well with all these guys out, I think the Chiefs can still win this game even with everybody that is out. Now, obviously, there's still more people that could possibly be out. I'm recording this on a Thursday, so anything can happen. But I think this is a great opportunity. With the guys that are out, these other guys stepping up, it's just a great chance to see what the Chiefs can be with the 2 top guys down. And the last thing that I have is just hopefully there's no unfortunate throws by Mahomes, the miss to McCall Hardman last week, and then the very unfortunate turnover that happened. So hopefully those we're done seeing those for the season. But yeah, this game it's going to be tough for the Chiefs. They're missing a lot of top guys, but the defense seems to be getting back to almost fully healthy. We'll see what happens with Chris Jones, and hopefully there is no more outbreaks. So if the Chiefs defense can step up, I think this is definitely a game where the Chiefs defense is a little bit more important than the offense, because I think the offense just has to sustain a few drives, score 21 points is definitely enough to beat the Steelers. So I think this is a great opportunity for the defense to step up, make some plays, and then let the offense see what these young guys, see what these other guys that don't play very much or don't get significant touches, let's see what they can do in this game. But that is my preview of the Chiefs and the Steelers for Sunday, Week 16 edition. Give me your thoughts of what you're looking for in this game down below, and I will see you in the next one.